Every trader has heard whispers of the zone, that mysterious state where trading feels effortless, where decisions flow without hesitation, where wins and losses no longer shake your core. But most will never step into it, not because it's impossible, but because they search for it in the wrong places. They think the zone comes from luck. A streak of winning trades convinces them they've arrived, only for the next loss to shatter the illusion. Others think it comes from shutting down emotions completely, trying to become a robot. But that path only creates tension, not clarity. The truth is harsher and simpler. The zone is not found, it is built. It emerges when your mind and your method finally stop fighting each other, when your rules are stronger than your impulses, when your focus shifts from outcomes to process. I remember chasing it myself. After a good week, I'd feel invincible, certain I had touched the zone. Then one bad trade would send me spiraling, proving I was nowhere near it. It wasn't until I accepted that the zone wasn't a reward from the market, but a reflection of my own discipline, that things began to change. If you want to know how to enter the zone, stop looking for shortcuts. Start building the conditions that make it inevitable. And the first condition is how you think about probability. The biggest barrier to the zone is the obsession with being right. Most traders treat every trade as a test of intelligence, a judgment of their worth. A win means validation. A loss means shame. With that weight on every decision, no clarity is possible. To step into the zone, you need to think in probabilities. One trade doesn't matter. 10 trades don't matter. What matters is the long series, the collection of outcomes over time. Your edge plays out not in certainty, but in repetition. I learned this when I looked back at months of data. The winning streaks weren't signs of brilliance, and the losing streaks weren't signs of failure. They were both part of the same distribution. Probability at work. It was humbling. And freeing. Imagine a casino. The house doesn't care if the player wins a hand. It doesn't panic when it loses a round. It knows its edge is in the math, not in the moment. That's how traders must think. One trade is just a hand in the game. The sequence is what matters. When you finally accept this, fear begins to loosen its grip. Overconfidence fades too. Wins and losses lose their emotional power because you stop attaching meaning to them. And that neutrality is the first step toward the zone. If probability thinking clears your vision, risk management is what keeps you safe inside that clarity. Without it, the zone is impossible. Because no matter how sharp your mindset, if a single trade can wipe you out, you will never trade without fear. I've seen traders sabotage themselves by loading up too much on one position. The setup looked good, but their size was so heavy that even a normal pullback felt catastrophic. They weren't reacting to the market. They were reacting to the size of their own bet. I made that mistake too. I remember holding a position so large that my hands literally shook as the candles moved. It didn't matter that the trade was valid. I couldn't see it clearly anymore. Every tick against me felt like an attack. That's not the zone. That's torture. The truth is simple. If your risk per trade is small enough, no single outcome can threaten your identity or your account. That safety creates the freedom to execute. You don't need to pray for the trade to work, because even if it doesn't, you survive. And survival is everything. The zone doesn't appear when you bet big and win. It appears when you size small, follow your rules, and let the edge play out over time. Risk is not just money management. It's psychological freedom. Without it, the door to the zone stays locked. Discipline is the bridge between theory and the zone. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. It's doing the same thing, the same way, over and over again, especially when every emotion in your body is screaming at you to break the rules. I can't count the number of times I told myself, just this once I'll move the stop. Just this once I'll hold a little longer. Just this once I'll double the size to win it back faster. Every just once pushed me further from the zone. Every broken rule rewired my brain to act on impulse instead of process. The loop of discipline works both ways. Each time you follow your plan without hesitation, you reinforce trust in yourself. Each time you break it, you destroy that trust. And without trust in yourself, neutrality is impossible. You'll always hesitate, always doubt, always second guess. Consistency is boring. That's the hardest truth for most traders to accept. It doesn't feel like excitement. It feels like repetition. But that repetition is what reshapes your mind until the rules become instinct, until you act without inner conflict. That's when the zone opens. Think of it like training a muscle. At first, it's effort. Heavy, uncomfortable, tiring. But after enough reps, the movement becomes natural. The zone is the same. It's not about one perfect day of discipline. It's about hundreds of small decisions that harden your habits until they become automatic. Most traders believe the zone means feeling nothing. They try to shut down emotion, to turn themselves into machines. But emotions don't disappear. They only lose their power to control you. That's emotional detachment. Not absence, but containment. Fear will always whisper when a trade moves against you. Greed will always tempt you when a position turns green. The difference is how much space you give those voices. In the zone, they become background noise. You hear them, but you don't obey them. I remember exiting trades too early, not because the setup had changed, but because I couldn't handle the thought of giving back profit. I also remember holding losers too long, convincing myself that it will turn around. Both decisions came from emotion, not logic. Each time the result was worse than if I had simply followed the rules. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. You still feel the sting of a loss, the thrill of a win. But the feelings pass through you instead of dictating your actions. You acknowledge them, but your process stays intact. That's why detachment is essential to entering the zone. Without it, every trade becomes an emotional storm. With it, every trade becomes data. That neutrality is what allows you to act with clarity no matter what the outcome is. The zone isn't a finish line you cross once and for all. It's a state you slip into more often as your discipline deepens. And there are signs that tell you you're getting closer. The first is hesitation fading away. You see a valid setup, and instead of freezing or second-guessing, you execute. The decision feels clean, without struggle. That's a sign your process is beginning to take over where doubt used to live. The second is how you handle losses. Small losses no longer shake you. They don't feel like failure. They feel like business as usual. You take them quickly, cleanly, and move on. That acceptance means probability has replaced ego in your thinking. The third is how you handle wins. Profits stop inflating your ego. You don't size up recklessly after one good trade. You don't celebrate as if you cracked the code. A win feels the same as a loss, just another outcome in the sequence. And the final sign, every trade begins to feel the same. Not boring, but consistent. The highs and lows fade, replaced by a steady rhythm. When all trades feel equal, you're closer than ever to the zone. Because in that sameness lies freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from arrogance, and freedom to execute with clarity. The zone is not a mystery. It's not luck, not destiny, not some secret state reserved for a chosen few. It's the natural result of building habits so strong that emotion loses its grip and discipline takes the wheel. You don't enter the zone by chasing it. You enter by preparing the ground, thinking in probabilities, controlling your risk so no trade can break you, repeating discipline until it becomes instinct, and detaching from the emotions that once ruled you. Piece by piece, those choices reshape you. When that happens, trading stops feeling like survival. It stops being a battle of ego and becomes execution. Simple, steady, clean. Losses don't sting, wins don't inflate, and the noise of doubt fades into silence. That's when you know you've stepped into the zone. Most traders never make it because they look for shortcuts. They want certainty where only probability exists. They want control where none is possible. And in their search for magic, they miss the truth. The zone is built, not found. If this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, subscribe, pass it on. Somewhere another trader is on the edge of giving up, and hearing this might be the turning point they need.